3. SparkCharge, Mobile, Off-Grid EV Charging as a Service, CAAS. Source, Clean Techniker Plus Smart Brief. SparkCharge offers a mobile, off-grid, turnkey EV charging solution through its charging as a service platform, targeting fleets and urban markets. Their services bypass grid dependency and costly fixed infrastructure, offering Level 2 and Level 3 charging delivered directly to EVs. Based in Somerville, Massachusetts, SparkCharge has helped fill gaps in areas like Boston with limited EV infrastructure. They serve fleets like Los Angeles-based delivery operators, managing entire charging operations to reduce downtime and range anxiety. Their solution includes a software platform for real-time monitoring, flat per kWh pricing, and white glove service with on-site staff. Selected as the mobile charging provider for the 2025 Masters Tournament, with unnamed executives from sponsor companies using the service. SparkCharge recently raised $30.5 million to expand into Mexico, Canada, and scale software and hardware upgrades. The company projects significant fleet electrification growth over the next 1 to 10 years, regardless of temporary EV retail slowdowns. 4 to 6. China's rapid expansion in EV battery recycling. Source, China Daily Plus Smart Brief. China is transforming its growing EV battery waste problem into a major industrial opportunity. Companies like Tianjin Battery Technology and GM are leading the way in lithium recovery, with rates above 90%. The country expects over 1 million tons of retired batteries by 2025, potentially reaching 3.5 million tons by 2030. Circular economy strategies include copper or aluminum recovery and refining black mass into battery-grade lithium carbonate. The sector faces challenges from unregulated workshops, but leading firms are expanding overseas, e.g., CATL in Hungary, GM in Korea and Indonesia. Collaborations are increasing. Got-Ion and Vision, Who Are You, a Suez, aiming to establish global recycling networks. 7. JetZero's $5B blended wing aircraft facility in North Carolina. Source, Smart Brief. Aerospace startup JetZero will build a $5B plant in Greensboro, North Carolina, creating 14,500+ jobs. The facility will produce the Z for blended wing aircraft, promising up to 50% fuel savings and improved passenger comfort. United Airlines and Alaska Airlines have invested, with United planning to order up to 200 planes. 8. Vertical Aerospace and Bristow Group, EVTOLE wet leasing of 4 VX4 aircraft. Source, Smart Brief. Vertical Aerospace and Bristow Group are expanding their Vertical Aerospace and Bristow Group are expanding their partnership to offer turnkey EVTOL operations with the VX4 aircraft. Bristow will provide pilots, maintenance, insurance, and operations under a ready-to-flies model. This capital-light strategy will allow customers to adopt electric flight without building infrastructure. Bristow has doubled its pre-orders for the VX4 to as many as 50 aircraft. 9. Automakers shifting to 48-volt electrical systems. Source, Smart Brief Advisor Opinion. The industry is transitioning from traditional 12V systems to 48V architectures to meet rising vehicle power demands. Benefits of 48V include higher efficiency, smaller gauge wiring, weight and cost reduction, and support for advanced tech. While EVs are leading this trend, ICE vehicles are also adopting 48V systems to handle increased electrical loads. 10. Plus automation to go public via SPAC at $1.2b valuation. Source: Dive Brief. Plus automation is going public via SPAC merger with Churchill Capital Corp 9, forming Plus AI. The deal, valued at $1.2 billion, is expected to close in Q4 2025 and raise $300 million to fund the 2027 launch of autonomous trucks. Their SuperDrive self-driving software is integrated with OEMs including Hyundai, Traton, and Iveco. Plus has logged over 5 million autonomous miles and will operate under a driver-as-a-service model. Competitor Kodiak Robotics also plans a 2025 SPAC IPO. Plus is conducting public testing in Texas and Sweden, with fleet trials set for fall 2025. Let me know if you'd like a chart format, themes breakdown, or export to a document. Here is a summary of 10 articles covering autonomous vehicles, Ford's China strategy, U.S. China trade developments, and aerospace tariff concerns. 1 to 2. NVIDIA CEO predicts a boom decade for autonomous vehicles and robotics. Source: CNBC Smart Brief. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang calls the 2020s their decade of autonomous vehicles, robotics, and autonomous machines. NVIDIA supplies hardware and software for AVS and is a key enabler of the ecosystem. Companies like Waymo, US, and Baidu, Pony.ai, China, are already running AV pilots. Europe lags behind due to slower regulatory progress, though the UK is starting to legislate for AVS. 3 to 6. Ford deepens learning from Chinese automakers. Source: Detroit Free Press Smart Brief. Ford's leadership visits China biannually to study the rapid innovation of Chinese automakers. Ford seeks to replicate China's speed, use of AI, and customer-centric design, while tailoring strategies for Western markets. Ford acknowledges Chinese OEMs, like BYD, as the most formidable future competition globally, including eventual US entry. China sold over 31 million vehicles in 2024, and is now the largest vehicle market globally. Ford's Chinese ventures are used as an export hub. Its Territory SUV is now Ford's top-selling vehicle in Mexico. Despite tariffs, Ford still exports the China-made Lincoln Nautilus to the US. Ford believes its Ford Pro commercial business gives it an edge, and it is using insights from Chinese EV development to inform its global electrification strategy. 7. Global trade at risk from potential US aircraft tariffs. Source: Smart Brief. The Trump administration is considering new tariffs on imported aircraft and parts. The EU and 5 countries warned of risks to global supply chains and US production. Major players like Boeing and Delta Air Lines support existing frameworks like the 1979 Civil Aircraft Agreement. The US currently holds a $75b trade surplus in aerospace, which could be jeopardized by new tariffs. 8 to 10. U.S. or China trade deal includes rare earths, student visas, and tariffs. Sources: Bloomberg, SCMP, Smart Brief. President Trump announced a done deal with China, pending final approval from Xi Jinping. The deal includes China supplying rare earth elements and industrial magnets upfront. The US allowing Chinese students to attend American universities. US tariffs set at 55% on Chinese goods vs. China's 10% on US goods. China's response has been cautious, urging a good faith to preserve the outcome of negotiations. Analysts note the leverage China holds via its rare earth export licensing system, which now requires detailed supply chain disclosures. The licensing process may not be dismantled quickly, giving China intelligence and control advantages in future disputes. Let me know if you'd like these categorized by theme, e.g., AV, trade, competition, or exported into a document or table. Here are summaries of the 2 additional articles. 1. Ford deepens strategic learning from Chinese automakers. Source: Detroit Free Press, 6/12. Ford Motor Company is stepping up its efforts to study Chinese automakers. Executives now visit China twice a year to examine Chinese expertise in vehicle development, AI integration, and customer service models. Andrew Frick, president of Ford Blue and Model E, said the company is aiming to replicate China's business speed and intellectual rigor within Ford, using insights from its joint venture partners. 2. NVIDIA CEO, 2020s will be the decade of AVS and robotics. Source: CNBC Viver Tech Conference, Paris, June 11, 2025. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang predicts that the current decade will mark major advances in autonomous vehicles, AVS, robotics, and autonomous machines. NVIDIA is a key player, supplying hardware and software for AV systems. AV deployments are expanding in the US, e.g., Waymo's Robotaxis, and China, e.g., Baidu and Pony.ai, while European markets lag behind due to regulatory uncertainty. Let me know if you'd like these appended to the prior batch or compiled into a master summary. Here are summaries of the 10 articles you provided. 1. Trump's auto tariffs threaten Japan's economy. The US 25% auto tariff could cost Japan's carmakers over $19B in FY 2025. Major brands like Toyota, Honda, Mazda, and Subaru face profitability shocks. Economists warn of recession risks in Japan, with the tariff disrupting a key wage growth cycle. 2. Cox Automotive warns of summer auto sales slowdown. May's SAR fell to 15.6 m from April 17.3 m, partly due to early buying before tariffs. Ford and Toyota showed strong May gains. Stellantis and Tesla underperformed. Inventory tightness, rising prices, and fewer incentives may pressure summer sales. Dealers advised to focus on sales execution, fixed ops, and inventory planning. 3. Trump confirms framework trade deal with China. Trump announced EU.S.China trade deal with 55% US tariffs and 10% Chinese tariffs. China will resume rare earth and magnet exports. US allows student visas. Many deal details remain unclear. Implementation awaits final approval by both presidents. Treasury Secretary Bessent insists there's a no quid pro quo on chips for minerals. 4. New tariffs expected to slowly drive up US inflation. May 2025 CPI rose just 0.1%, with limited visible impact from recent tariffs. Economists expect summer inflation to rise as inventories deplete and prices adjust. The Fed's Beige Book cited widespread business expectations of cost and price increases. Inflation could be more affected in sectors like toys, appliances, and electronics. 5. Japan's auto industry faces tariff-driven recession risk. Trump's tariffs could disrupt Japan's economic recovery and wage cycle. Auto exports to the US are critical to Japan's manufacturing sector. The yuan 2.1T economic hit stems not just from OEMs, but also from suppliers and shippers. 6. New vehicle prices flat in May, dealer profits squeezed. May ATP held at $$48,800, with limited YOY price growth, plus 1%. SAR dropped from 17.3 m in April to 15.6 m in May. EV ATPs dropped to $57,734, with incentives spiking to 14.2% of ATP, $8,225. Tesla's Model Y dropped 2.9% MOM. Dealer margins are under pressure. 7. U.S.China deal aims to restore Geneva trade truce. Trump touts a done deal restoring rare earth supplies and university access. Tariff terms: 55% US on Chinese goods, 10% Chinese on US goods. China's export controls on rare earths remain in place for now, implementation uncertain. Bessent clarified no trade-off involving AI chips was part of the agreement. 8. Asia-Europe ocean trade demand remains high amid tariff chaos. Shippers face high short-term rates and tight capacity as US tariffs shift trade to Europe. Asia or Europe westbound trade rose 8.6% YOY in April. Blank sailings are up, but a record 1.15 MTUs will deploy in July. Carries confident enough to raise rates amid continued demand and rerouted tonnage. 9. S/P Global, new steel and aluminum tariffs increase auto costs. US raised Section 232 tariffs on steel and aluminum imports to 50% as of June 4th. Applies even to derivative goods with metal content, raising complexity and costs. S/P revised 2025 North American vehicle production upward by 300,000 units. Tariffs remain volatile, court challenges pending. OEMs are cautious on pricing. 10. US solar industry warns tariffs may stifle growth through 2030. 8.6 gigawatts of new module capacity added in Q1 2025, but outlook darkens. CA says tariffs and possible tax credit rollbacks threaten job losses and plant closures. Utility-scale deployment forecast cut 6%, residential by 14%. Growth expected to rebound post-2028 due to AI data center energy demand. Let me know if you want grouped takeaways or charted summaries next. Here are summaries of the 10 articles you provided. 1. Aluminum Association opposes 50% US tariff. The US Aluminum Association warns that doubling aluminum import tariffs to 50%, effective June 4, 2025, under Section 232 will hurt domestic manufacturers reliant on imports, especially from Canada. The industry fears higher costs, reduced demand, and disruptions in supplying the defense sector. Midwest aluminum premiums hit record highs, up 150.7% YTD, risking demand destruction. 2. US lawmakers propose 500% tariffs on Russian oil buyers. WTI crude prices rose amid geopolitical tensions and a proposed US bill imposing 500% tariffs on countries buying Russian oil, aimed at pressuring China and India. The bill also introduces broader sanctions unless Russia negotiates peace. Russian oil exports remain steady, with 70% going to China and India. The White House has not committed to supporting the bill. 3. Asia-Europe ocean trade sees surge ahead of tariff pause deadline. Shipping demand on Asia-Europe routes is surging as shippers rush to beat the US tariff pause deadline on July 9th. Rates are rising despite record capacity due to strong demand and capacity reallocation to the Trans-Pacific. Analysts expect continued high demand and elevated rates for the next few months, driven by Chinese exporters seeking new markets post-tariff. 4. Asia tech faces US tariff risks, India and Vietnam key to diversification. Smartphones and PCs are most exposed to US tariff risks among Asia tech producers. Companies like Apple and Lenovo are shifting production to India and Vietnam to reduce China exposure. AI chip makers like Nvidia face less disruption. Suppliers with strong US sales and less diversified production, e.g., Kioxia and Renesas, remain vulnerable to margin pressure. 5. US tariffs threaten port volume, slowing transportation infrastructure growth. S/P cut 2025 US port volume forecasts by 4% due to high tariffs. While airports and toll roads show moderate growth, ports are seeing the most strain. Mass transit ridership remains below pre-COVID levels but is gradually recovering. Analysts expect tariffs and policy uncertainty to weigh on future infrastructure performance, despite overall economic growth. 6. Africa hit by container shortages as carries shift to China-US routes. African exporters, especially Indian rice suppliers, face rising freight rates and container shortages as carries redirect vessels to the lucrative China or U.S. lane. Freight to East Africa has jumped 15 to 20%. With subdued demand and limited availability, some trade is expected to shift to bulk shipping. Rates to West Africa are expected to rise further. 7. Shipping industry must adapt to long-term U.S. or China tensions. Shipping leaders warn that U.S. or China trade tensions will persist beyond Trump's administration. Recent US tariffs on steel, aluminum, and Chinese-linked ships increase uncertainty. China dominates global shipbuilding and freight routes, and market players must adapt rather than delay investments. Freight rate volatility is expected to continue in this new geopolitical landscape. 8. S/P Global offers scenario planning services for auto industry tariffs. S/P Global Mobility is offering scenario planning and advisory services for automakers to navigate the complexities of US tariffs. The service includes forecasts, regulatory insights, and strategies for supply chain adjustment. Manufacturers and suppliers are advised to assess their margins and sourcing flexibility to prepare for ongoing disruption and policy shifts. 9. S/P